Hey everyone, Tristan back with another video, and in this video I'm reviewing these speakers. These are the Yamaha HS5 powered studio monitors in black, and as you can see they've got quite a unique look. The mid-range woofer driver is white, and that's kind of their signature look. You can also get these with a white enclosure if you don't like the sort of black and white look, although the white one still has a black surround over the driver. But it tends to be a little bit of a different look, maybe a more modern look. But this look is sort of the classic look, and it's kind of based on the old classic Yamaha monitors, the NS10 monitors. And the NS10s are not powered, though. They're passive speakers, whereas these are actually powered. So each one is powered and got its own amplifier. And these speakers are used in studios worldwide, all over the place. They're very, very popular. And I have to say, for the price, they are really excellent. For the pair, it's only about $400. So I think they really do perform well above that price point. They sound really excellent for $400. You could do a lot worse for $400, believe me. So I think they're definitely worth it. Now I've got them on stands. As you can see here, these are the isoacoustic stands, and they are raised up to about ear level. And that's really important. I see so many people have their speakers just sitting on a shelf or on a desk, not anywhere near their ear level. And you're going to get much better sound if you get them up towards your ear level, much better stereo separation and instrument separation, getting them up close to your ears. And also sort of decoupling them from your desk or your shelf as well, so you're not getting vibrations and the sound actually resonating, on your desk. So that's what these isoacoustic stands do. I have reviewed those in my channel before, so do check the link in the top right for those. I will post that link. So I really like this setup. I think they sound really excellent. Now, when you're looking at my video here, keep note that I do have a little sort of tint sticker on the little LED on the bottom of these drivers, because when you turn them on, as you see here, there is a white LED that glows. Now, it's not super bright, it's not overly bright, but it still was a little bit bright for my liking, especially at night, like when I'm using the computer. So I have a little dimming sticker on each little LED, which cuts the brightness probably by about half on the little LED, and I'll post a link to those as well. I find them very useful and just makes it not as bright. So that's one change that you'll notice from these speakers over stock. Now, the other thing is going to the back of these speakers, just to show you. The only thing I've done here is I've added a little L bracket so that I can attach my Blue Jeans cables RCAs into the 1/4 inch input on these, because these do not have RCA inputs, these have 1/4 inch inputs. But it's an L bracket, which means that it's really a nice clean install, and I'm not straining the connectors or anything like that. I'm not straining the cable. It just goes straight down and I'll post a link to this L adapter as well in the description field. I think this is a must-have for these speakers. That way your cable can just go straight down and it's not sticking out like an inch or two, from the back of the speaker and straining anything. So I definitely highly recommend that. Now, in terms of the specs on these speakers, this is the 5-inch version. They do have an HS8, which has a larger driver. Now, that's going to depend on the size of your room. I'm in a fairly small room here and, a fairly small space and desk. So the HS5 with the 5-inch cone woofer was the one that really met my needs perfectly. But in terms of the specs, again, as mentioned, it has the 5-inch cone woofer. It has a 70-watt total output, a 1-inch dome tweeter. It has XLR inputs as well as a 1/4 inch TRS input. And it's got a low resonance enclosure. And I believe the enclosure is MDF. Now, one of the cool and keen things about these speakers is it also has some customizations on the back panel, where you have a high trim switch, which helps trim down the treble a little bit so that you can help eliminate reflections off hard surfaces like walls or windows, or in my case here, I also have a big monitor as well, which is a flat monitor. That can't help for sound as well. So I do have that on to help with, treble reflections and stuff like that with, flat surfaces in the room. But then you also have a room control response switch, which basically I believe is like a bass roll-off. So if you're getting a lot of kind of like booming bass out of these, or if they're like on a shelf that kind of resonates too much, you can actually flip that switch, and that's going to help with that as well. Now, I don't have that on in my room. And while we're on the subject of bass, I do have to say that these have pretty good bass response, but they don't completely provide like a room shaking boom or anything, because that's just not physically possible with a speaker of this small size with a woofer of only 5 inches. But I do have these connected to a subwoofer. It's an older subwoofer that I've had for years by Audio Engine. It's the Audio Engine S8. So I do have them, powered through a subwoofer, and I think they sound really great that way as well. The Yamaha HS5 is a bi-amped monitor, so that means that the tweeter as well as the mid-range and woofer have their own separate discrete amps. Now, because these speakers are amplified speakers, they're powered speakers, you do have a gain control and volume knob on the back. So that enables you to tweak the levels how they should be based on the level of the incoming signal that you feed it. Now I'm feeding this out directly from my Chord Hugo TT2 DAC and preamp. You can plug this into pretty much any preamp or DAC with a preamp output, either single-ended or balanced. Or with the right cable, you could even plug it directly into a computer, although your quality won't be quite as good doing it that way. But you certainly could do that if you would like. I think the new Mac computers actually have a pretty good 3.5 millimeter output on them, so you could plug directly into that with the right cabling, and I think it would sound pretty good. These speakers have a very uncanny way of sounding quite musical, but also being referenced at the same time. I wouldn't say they have an overall sound signature themselves, like they're not overly dark or overly bright. They are just reference quality, but at the same time, they have an uncanny ability to sound very musical. So they pretty much give you accurately what you're putting into them in terms of what you're feeding it. So you're going to get an accurate representation in terms of the song or track that you're feeding it. And they also just have a really sweet and musical sound to them as well. And I do have to say, getting them up to ear level definitely improves that quite a bit. And that's going to be the case with pretty much any speaker. I can't reiterate it enough. You want the tweeters of the speaker to be right at about ear level for ideal performance, both in terms of the width and depth of the soundstage, as well as the musicality and instrument separation that you will experience from your music. What Yamaha has been able to achieve with this speaker for only $400 a pair is pretty amazing, because they compare very favorably to more expensive speakers that I've had in the past, such as I've had the Focal CMS 50s, which are like $1,200 a pair, and these Yamahas are only $400 a pair, and I actually think I prefer the sound of the Yamahas, surprisingly enough. So I think the Yamaha HS5 studio monitors are destined to be another classic, just like the Yamaha NS10s are. And if you're looking for some speakers to plug into your headphone amplifier or your computer, I can highly recommend these for the price. Oh, and the other thing about these Yamahas is they have a relatively low noise floor as well. If you're experienced with powered speakers, you know that when no music is playing and you have them on, sometimes you hear a little bit of a hiss, and that's normal because the built-in amps on the powered speakers are always powered. So, it is kind of normal to have a little bit of a noise floor with these. And with these Yamaha HS5s, there is a little bit of a noise floor, but it's not real bad. It's actually one of the lower noise floor powered monitors that I've heard, although there is some noise floor. That's inevitable. If you put your ear right up to them with nothing playing, you will hear a little bit of a hiss sometimes, but that also depends on the gain as well. So if you feed it a bit of a higher gain on the input side and then you turn the gain on the speakers down, you will then get a lower noise floor coming out of the speakers. So that's something that you will want to play with in your own setup. So I have to say, I think the Yamaha HS5 speakers are well worth it for the price paid, and I think they're destined to be another classic, just like their older model Yamaha NS10 speakers. There is a reason why you see these speakers in use so much in music studios and pretty much all over the place. They punch above their price point for sure. So for pricing and availability, be sure to check the description field below. And for any questions and community and discussion, I will see you in the comments field. Thanks for watching my review of the Yamaha HS5 powered studio monitor speakers. See you in my next video.